Oh no!
Oh.
Nope.
Oh.
Why? What is wrong with me?
I got it. I got it. No, oh my God.
Doing it for science.
You may be wondering how I got myself into this mess to start with, and since it's Derek's fault, I'm gonna make him answer.
What?
Okay, fine, I'll explain it myself. Basically what happened is about 6 weeks ago, Derek texted me out of the blue and asked if I would build him something. And like an absolute idiot, I said yes before ever hearing what it was because, I don't know, you like don't say no to Veritasium. So then he sent me the grainiest possible video of what looked like a little toy car that was powered by a propeller. Except the catch was that it could go downwind faster than the wind while being powered only by the wind. Which sounds impossible, and actually people for decades have been arguing that this concept as a whole is a hoax and all of the existing vehicles are cheating somehow. So I was tasked with making one that was so clearly functional it could not be disputed. Now this is a super difficult concept to wrap your brain around, and Derek has done now 2 really good videos on how it works. So I'm just gonna link those down below. The problem is that it's actually a pretty exact science to get it to work, and so you know, 4 versions of the car later, a month after Derek posted the video I was supposed to build this thing for, you know, I finally got it working. I had a schedule, like always.
Look, I didn't know how hard that was going to be. Sorry, Zyla.
Apology accepted.
Okay.
Mostly.
Good.
Because you give me free soda water.
Yeah, and also, you know, I cut myself on the car that Zyla made, so she got back at me ultimately.
My fault, my fault.
This is the prop. It's a deadly cart. I don't know why she's wielding that thing.
What do you think?
Should I wield my injury? Should I show my injury?
Oh yeah. Emily got injured too. I forgot.
A second casualty of the cart.
Like, all these people just need to learn not to put their appendages where propellers are. Anyway, let's rewind to the part where I said this was version 4. Here was my first attempt, and honestly, we're not even gonna talk about it. I really didn't understand the scope of the problem. Here's version 2, and this is the one I took to Derek's house for the first time. I used a Lego gearbox in hopes of making it a little more accessible.
Let's test it out. Moment of truth. The suspense is killing me.
I'm kind of scared.
It doesn't seem like it's gonna go forward.
Not yet. Nothing has fallen off yet.
I think this is a win. This totally counts as a win. Still a pretty serious tug, hey? Whoa! I was definitely not thinking that it was gonna be like 10 miles an hour or whatever. So
Alright.
oh no! Do you wanna go to 12?
Sure. One more try. We'll glue everything a little better, and then one more try.
Okay. Yeah, it still feels weak.
It still feels really weak. I'm just surprised how much of it.
How far we are.
far
That
off
it's not even like, almost.
Yeah. You'd think there are moments where you're like, oh.
Yeah.
But it's no. I left Derek's house that night mortified. Like, I haven't failed to build something for someone in a really long time, and of course it had to be for Veritasium himself. So the next morning I scrapped everything I had, I started over, and I built this cart. I found this helicopter tail rotor gearbox at a local hobby store that was like an hour away from my house, and it's way more legit than the Lego one, but the problem is the axle only came out one side, so my last minute solution was to drill a hole down the shaft and insert a thinner axle on that side.
Okay.
Okay.
This is the Mark 1.
V1 versus
V2.
It's gonna like fly apart. Just you watch. It's a lot closer. Closer maybe, but so unstable that I actually left Derek's house, went to a hobby store to try to find a way to extend that axle. The engineering process is an iterative thing.
I like it. Try it, version 3. Where's the safety glasses?
Oh yeah.
It'll probably be fine, but.
This is definitely the last try. After this, I'm like completely out of ideas.
All right.
How to improve. You may notice that I not only lengthened the axle, but I also got a way bigger prop with the hopes of just pushing more air. Ready?
Yep. How's it feeling? It's not feeling like it's gonna push itself forward. Are you gonna debunk this whole thing? Is there gonna be a video on your channel? Zyla Foxland
Derek
says
is lying.
Veritasium's misleading the public.
The sad axle. Like,
That is so
pitiful.
sad. So sad.
Embarrassing. Oh.
Nope.
That was a no. And that kind of brings us to today. At this point, it is a day before Derek's first video came out, and that's why in that video you see him using my model as an explainer prop, but not actually functioning. And that kind of broke my heart, but it was too late and there was nothing I could do. But then Dr. Alex Kusenko, a UCLA physics professor, bet Derek $10,000 that this was a hoax and he could not prove that it worked. And so I knew it was my moral responsibility, my duty as an engineering YouTuber, to not only make a model and a video that shows you it works, but also to provide you with free plans to make sure you can make one at home and prove it to yourself. And for my final design, I decided that 3D printing is now an accessible enough technology that anyone determined enough to build this cart is also determined enough to find access to a 3D printer. So I decided to design a cart that was entirely a combination of 3D printed parts and parts available from McMaster Car. Now, McMaster Car is the most expensive solution, but they guaranteed can get you parts anywhere, at least in the United States, which means that you are more than welcome to find these parts cheaper, but you definitely have the option on McMaster. So the parts list and the 3D printer files, as well as the CAD model of my entire design, is all down in the description below, and that will make this build video a little easier. Before we assemble though, I need to explain to you why this cart is going to work and none of the other ones did. So Teacher Zyla, activate. Okay, so the physics of how this cart works is explained really, really well in Veritasium's video, so I'm not really gonna go over that. The thing I'm gonna go over is the engineering concept that you need to make this work, and that is the ratio of the propeller pitch to the wheel circumference. Technically, it's the propeller pitch to the drive shaft gearing to the wheel circumference ratio, except that the easiest thing to do is to make your gearing 1-to-1, so you can kind of eliminate that from the equation, and now all we're thinking about is the pitch to diameter. Let's start with propeller pitch. I like to think of a propeller like a screw. For one full rotation, it travels a certain amount through its material. For a screw, that would be wood, but for a propeller, that's air. If a screw has a really coarse thread, one turn will advance it much further in the wood, but will require a lot more force to drive it in. And the exact same thing goes for a propeller. Keep that in mind, and let's talk about the wheel for a second. For one full turn of the wheel, it travels the circumference of the wheel. That's sort of self-explanatory, but since this propeller is geared directly proportionally to the wheel, those matter a lot. And the ratio of these two factors, the propeller distance over the wheel distance, is something that the inventor of this craft calls the vehicle speed ratio, or VSR. And for a vehicle like this to work, the VSR needs to be 0.7 or less, which means that the wheel diameter needs to be pretty large. And that was the problem with my first two carts, other than the fact that the wheels fell off. But they never would have worked anyway, because the VSR was like 1.5 or higher. Now you can do the math for any cart you build and any wheel diameter and propeller, but what I found the easiest thing to do is to make the diameter of your wheels 10 divided by pi, which means that the circumference is just 10, and that means dividing is really easy, and your VSR is going to be basically just whatever pitch the propeller is. For an ultralight vehicle, you can get away with a VSR of 0.7, so a 7-inch propeller pitch, but I found for this one, 4.7 was the sweet spot. And that's the key. Class dismissed. And with my pretty purple parts straight out of the printer, say that 3 times fast, I recorded that many times. I used a drill bit as kind of a reamer to make sure that the diameter of that hole is exactly 1/2 inch, and that will get a nice snug press fit for all those bearings. And you may find that some sandpaper is involved, which is tragic, but absolutely necessary because these bearings are critical. We need to get this system as frictionless as possible in order for the cart to work. Like, I'm talking smooth like butter, people. Cut one of your steel axles down to 12 inches, and then you're very likely gonna have to sand it down. I had to sand mine down to fit into those bearings because they're 3/16 bearings, 3/16 axle. And then I marked where it sits when perfectly centered and CA glued it in place. Now for the bearings that go on the propeller axle, since they're both really close to the ends of the axle, I actually managed to get away with freezing the axle, heating the bearing, and just going for it. But you, of course, can just sand it if that's easier. I will say, though, that the at least lower bearing, the one closer to the bevel gear on the propeller shaft, needs to be a very tight fit, so you'll either need to glue it or have it press fit like I did. To get a snug fit with the wheels, I just drilled it to a 3/16, and that worked perfectly, although I will say I replaced the wheels you're seeing here with thicker ones later on. For the center support braces, I used aluminum tubing at first because it was cheaper, but it ended up being a really good decision because aluminum tubing can bend ever so slightly, so you can just do really tiny adjustments to get the cart to run perfectly straight. So those got installed in their holes, and you're gonna need to glue them in. I used CA glue. I didn't like how much those first wheels I put on wobbled, so I redesigned and 3D printed these wheels. They're much thicker, so the rubber band sits on them really nicely, and they also have a hub which holds them at perfectly 90 degrees from the axle. I CA glued the bevel gears in place, and you're going to want to make sure there's just the tiniest gap between them, and that'll help it run really smoothly. And now it's time for the propeller. Most propellers will come with these hub adapter thingies, and I used one that was a little bit small, and then I drilled it to be the perfect size. I used a shaft collar a little bit as a spacer just to hold the propeller out from the bearing a little bit, and then I also used a shaft collar on the other side just for safety and peace of mind. And with that done, it was time to head back to Derek's.
Do you feel redeemed? Like, how confident are you?
I mean, like, I will be really sad if it doesn't work. So I don't want to say I feel redeemed until I have redeemed myself. See, this is what you've evolved into.
How it started?
How it started, how it's going.
Going up to 10 miles per hour. This is
This
where...
is where it should work.
No. I'm going to 12. It's a close one.
Nice one.
Trust me to...
Oh, are you okay?
Yes, but have I done something to the prop? I think we need treadmill, store treadmill.
Treadmill, store treadmill? Okay.
Like, it's basically there. It just needs a little extra love. To the treadmill store.
To the treadmill store.
For victory. Whoa!
Oh!
Look at that.
It's like almost buoyant. You know when like something will float and then eventually like slowly it sinks? And because we were so close, Derek and I decided to just jump in the car and drive to the nearest hobby store and buy a couple more propellers with lower pitch angles to try those out.
Yeah, I'm gonna make the claim on camera. I think it's gonna work this time. We're changing the propeller.
It has to work before we get kicked out of the treadmill store.
Does it work?
It totally works.
Amazing.
Oh my god, it's so good. You wanna try it?
Yes. Oh yeah. Oh! Oh! Why?
Did you?
Why?
Are you okay?
Why? What is wrong with me? Look at that. Doing it for science.
I didn't.
All right, let's do it.
I'm so sorry.
It's all good. My main concern is the car. This is dangerous work that we do here.
Oh, I can't believe it finally worked.
It works.
It finally worked.
Physics.
I want to see if I can get this thing to
Run straight.
do adjustments. Yo!
Amazing.
Victory!
Here for a sec.
Yeah.
Okay, go. Amazing.
That's so
like-
good. Do you want to play with it?
No. I have the scars to show. I'm not the right one.
Oh, wow! That looks so good! Wait, that's
Right?
crazy. It looks so good. It moves in a straight line and it goes like
in a straight
consistently
line.
up. It's beautiful.
So like proof, there's like no batteries, no motors.
It's beautiful.
Thank you!
Like you know, spherical cow? Like this looks like it's from a physics problem. Like it's so downwind faster than the wind.
Downwind faster than the wind.
There it is.
Myth busted.
Yeah.
And there you have it. With just a 3D printer and some simple parts from McMaster or somewhere cheaper, you can make a cart that some physicists have been claiming is a hoax for decades. Please subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and also a massive, massive thank you to Derek for continually believing in me as an engineer and letting me keep trying until I got it right. Thank you.
I just went to LACMA. This should be like, there should be an entire floor just for this in the middle.
I love it.
I'm not even
Homies
hyping you
gas
I'm
up
just
other homies.
speaking, like my true emotions right now. There is no gas in this vehicle. Like there's truly no gas in this vehicle. I just genuinely am so impressed by this. Like holy moly.
Oh hey, I didn't see you there. I was too distracted by my awesome KiwiCo kit. Oi. In all seriousness, this video is sponsored by KiwiCo. KiwiCo creates super cool hands-on projects and toys designed to expose kids to the concepts in STEAM, science, technology, engineering, and math. It's no secret that I'm a huge advocate for hands-on education, and I think the only reason I've made it to where I am today is because I had a small handful of teachers growing up that acknowledged that I learned through projects, and they'd let me do things that were more hands-on and less studying from a book and taking a test. It's summer, which means that kids aren't really in school, but they still need to be keeping their brains engaged and focused, and I think summer is the best time to get our kids building stuff with their hands. There's no homework to distract them. We can teach them like hands-on skills. KiwiCo now ships to more than 40 countries, and you can get 50% off your first month of any crate by going to kiwico.com/xylofoxlin, which is also linked down below in the description if you don't like typing.